Okay, so before we move on to the next part of the project, I just want to talk a little bit about local storage and session storage, which is basically the same thing. I'll explain the difference in a second. So, local storage and session storage, they're properties on the window interface or the window object, and they give us access to a storage object. Now, we can store data directly in the browser. Okay, when we use local storage in our shopping list, when we add an item, it gets stored in the browser. It's not something where we're connecting to a server with a database where other people from other clients can see what we're adding, right? When you create, like, let's say, a social network, and you're creating a profile, or you're creating a recipe or something where other people can see it, that gets stored on a server somewhere. That's much different. So what we're doing is just storing it right in our own browser, and only we can see it. Okay. Now, the data is stored as key value pairs, and the values that are stored have to be strings. That You can't store pure objects, JavaScript objects. What we can do is stringify the objects, store them in local storage, and then when we need to use them, we pull them out, we parse them as an object. All right, I'll show you how to do that. And the only difference between local storage and session storage is that local storage does not expire, and session storage only lasts as long as the page is open. So as soon as you close the page or close the browser, your session storage is gone. Local storage will stick around unless you set it to expire. All right, they have the same API, they have the same methods, which I'm going to show you now. So on local storage, we have a couple really helpful methods. One is set item, which takes in the key that you want to use. In this case, I'm saying I want to save something with a key of name, and the value, which I'm putting in a string of Brad. Okay, now then to get that data, we can use get item and just pass in the key. If we want to remove that item from local storage, we call remove item and pass in the key. And then there's also a clear method that we can use to clear all values. All right, now I'm going to jump into our project, but you don't have to do this. You don't have to follow along because I'm not keeping this. It's just to give you an example. Now I am going to open up the dev tools here because I want to show you that we can see what's in our local storage by going to the application tab. And I'm just going to make this a little bigger so we can see. And right here you see local storage, and then you see our domain, which of course is the local host, and you can see key and value. And right now we don't have anything set. If we want to create, let's say, local storage, and let's say we want to set an item, and just like in the slides I just showed you, we'll set a name. So that's the key, and then for the value I'll say Brad. Now if I save that and the page runs, you can see key, name, value, Brad. And if I reload the page, it's still there. Okay, so it's not gonna go away. Even if I close the browser, since I use local storage, it'll stick around. If I use session storage.set item, then it'll go away once I close the session. Now, to get that, like, let's go to the console here. If I want to console log, I can say local, and of course I can put this into a variable, but I'll say local storage.get item, and then we just want to put the key in here, which is name. And if I go ahead and look in the console, we get Brad. And then if I want to remove it, I could say local storage.remove item, put in the key of name. So if I run that and we go back to, so it logs it, but then after that it removes it. So if we go to application, we shouldn't see it anymore. It's gone. And we can also clear it. So let me just put it back. So now we have it back. And then if we want to clear all values, we can say .clear. Save that, and now it's gone because it cleared any values that we have. So local storage is really easy to work with for the most part. Where it does get tricky is when you're saving objects, which we are going to be doing. We're going to save our items as a stringified object, but once you kind of get the hang of it, it's really easy compared to using like a database and connecting to a server and stuff like that. So where you don't want to use local storage is with sensitive data. It's not good for stuff like that. For something like this, a shopping list, fine. If it's to let's say you have an application where you log in and it says like hello Brad, or whatever, it says hello and then your name. You can store your name in local storage. What you don't want to store is like passwords, obviously, credit card information, sensitive data like that. You never want to store in local storage because it's on the client. I mean, it's very easy to access. All right, so now in the next video, we'll go ahead and we'll start to implement local storage into our application.